0, 1 million, 10 million, and 100 million. 4 numbers. Let's imagine for a while 4 completely different worlds. It's the same person. Or, well, we are the same person. Same day. But 4 different versions of what life actually feels like. This is what money really does. Let's start at 0. Not broke temporarily. I talk about the kind of 0 when you wake up and the first thought in your mind isn't about the day ahead. It's about the money you don't have. You are at 0 and your entire world shrinks down to one question. How do I survive today? You don't plan vacations. You don't think about investments. You barely think about tomorrow because today takes away everything you have.
The apartment is small, dark, barely furnished. Not by choice, but by math. Every single item in that space exists because it had to. Nothing is extra. Nothing is just because you wanted it. The walls feel close. The air feels heavy. Money, or the lack of it, is a presence in every room. You go to the grocery store and you do math. Not budgeting, survival math. Can I afford this? If I buy this, what do I lose? You put things back. Not sometimes, every time. At 0, you don't eat what you want. You eat what the money allows. And here's the part that nobody talks about. The weight. It's not just financial. It's physical. Your shoulders carry it. Your chest feels it every day. Your sleep is interrupted by it. When you are at 0, there is no separation between you and your financial reality. They are the same thing. You are your bank balance, and your bank balance is a threat. Now let's jump to $1 million. A net worth, not income. Assets. The number most people spend their whole lives dreaming about.
And here's what it actually feels like. Different, but not the way you imagined. The apartment is nicer. Not extravagant, just nicer. Clean, comfortable, warm. You have furniture that you actually chose. Not because it was cheap, because you liked it. That alone is a completely different experience of being alive. You wake up, and the first thought isn't dread. It's not excitement either. It's just calm.
You check your account, and the number is stable, growing slowly, predictably. The sensation is almost invisible, as if it were the absence of fear. And if you've lived at 0, that absence feels like wealth. You go to the same grocery store, but this time you don't do the math. You just shop. You see something you want, and you put it in the cart. And it's in. That small moment, that freedom to choose without calculating, is worth more than most people realize. At 1 million, you sleep differently. Not because the bed is better, though it is, but because your nervous system finally believes that you're okay. The bill comes and you pay it. You don't think about it again. The car breaks down and you fix it. It's annoying, but it's not a crisis like before. At 1 million, problems are still problems, but they're problems you can solve with money. And that changes everything.
You start thinking about the future, but not in a desperate way, in strategy. Where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I actually want to build? When you're at 0, you can't ask that question. You're too busy surviving. At 1 million, it's the first time the question is even possible. But here's what 1 million doesn't give you. Freedom from work.
You still have a job. You still show up. The difference is, you could survive a few months without it. Maybe 6, maybe 12. That buffer is the difference between employment and survival. And it's everything. $10 million. This is where the world actually changes shape.
The apartment isn't an apartment anymore. It's a house. Not because you need the space, simply because you can. And more importantly, because you want to. At 10 million, desire starts to matter again. The house has light, huge windows, space that serves no function except to exist, rooms you don't use every day. And that's the point. At 0, every square foot has to justify itself. But at 10 million, the space is allowed to breathe.
You wake up and you don't check your account. Not because you're irresponsible, because the number is large enough that daily changes don't matter anymore. You're thinking in months, in years. The money is working. Investments, real estate, businesses. You're not trading time for money anymore. Now your money is making money while you sleep. And the amount it makes is more than most people earn in a year of work. That shift from earning to multiplying is the real difference between 1 million and 10 millions. You travel differently, not just more often, differently. First class isn't a splurge, it's just the way how you fly. The hotel isn't about budget, it's about whether you actually want to stay there. You don't look at prices anymore, not because you're careless, but because within a reasonable range, price stops being the deciding factor. You ask, do I want this? Instead, can I afford this? That question completely changes how you move through the world. At 10 million, you start to understand something that people at lower levels can't quite see. Money stops being about things. The car is nice, the house is beautiful, but they stop mattering the way you thought they would. What actually matters at 10 million is time. You can say no to the client you don't like, to the project that drains you, or to the person who only calls when they need something. No becomes available to you in a way it wasn't before. And every no creates space for a yes that actually matters. If you have kids, they will go to better schools. And not just because the education is necessarily better, but because the network is. The people they meet at 10 million are different than the people they meet at 0. And whether we like it or not, that matters. You know, at 10 million, you think about legacy, but not just in an abstract way. It's in a concrete, what am I actually building way. You set up trusts. You think about taxes decades in advance. You start making decisions that won't pay off in your lifetime. And that's new.
At 0, you used to think in days. At 1 million, you think in years. But now, at 10 million, you think in generations. $100 million. Okay, look, this is what I call a different species of wealth. The house isn't just big, it's multiple houses. One where you live, one at the beach, one in the mountains, one in another country. You don't use all of them because that's not the point, my friend. The point is you never have to choose. You wake up and someone has already made you coffee. And not necessarily because you can't, simply because of the very important fact that your time is worth more than the time it takes to make coffee.
At 100 million, every single hour of your day is how to put it? It becomes a resource you protect. Now you don't manage your own calendar. Someone does that. You don't book your own travel. Someone does that. You don't answer your own email. You have people whose full-time job is to make sure your time is spent only on the things that actually matter to you. The car isn't just nice. You have multiple. And you even don't drive most of them. Someone else does. Because though you know how to drive, the hour you'd spend stuck in traffic is worth more than the cost of a driver.
At 100 million, you stop thinking about money almost entirely. You think about impact. What can I build that changes something? What problem can I solve at scale? How do I turn this wealth into something that matters beyond me? Philanthropy isn't charity anymore, it's strategy.
I mean, you're not writing checks. You're funding entire initiatives, building institutions, changing systems. You meet with people who run countries. Because you're special? No. Because at 100 million, you have the resources to move things that most people can't even touch. Your kids, if you have them, grow up in a completely different reality than you did. They will never know what it's like to check a bank balance with fear. They will never do the math at a grocery store. And that's both a gift and a problem you have to solve. Because once you reach this level of wealth, you can insulate them so completely from reality that I promise you, they will never develop the skills that built it. You think about that, and a lot.
At 100 million, the biggest question isn't how to make more, it's how to raise kids who aren't destroyed by it. You fly private. I don't talking about first class. I mean your own plane. Because the time saved by skipping security, skipping layovers, skipping boarding is worth more than the cost of the jet. If you think about it, time is the only thing you can't buy more of. So you make sure to buy everything else that protects it. At 100 million, you have access to opportunities that aren't publicly available, to investments that require minimums most people will never reach, to rooms where decisions are made that affect millions of people.
And you know what's the strange part about all this? At 100 million, you realize that no amount of money solves certain problems. Relationships still break, health still fails, and people you love still die. Money solves money problems. And at 100 million, you have zero money problems, which means every problem you have left is the kind money can't fix. And that's a very specific kind of clarity.
4 lives. 4 completely different worlds. Same person, same day. At 0, you're surviving. At 1 million, you're stable. At 10 million, you're free. At 100 million, you're operating at a scale most people will never see. The difference isn't just the money. It's the entire shape of reality. The question isn't which one is better. The question is, which world do you want to live in? And what are you willing to do to get there? Because all of them are available. The ladder is real. The only thing stopping you from climbing is you.